This car behind us was discussed with Ed and my son Andrew sort of very early part of this year, that they'd managed to find it in America, and it was just an unbelievable find, really. We were luckily invited to have a chat, to be involved with its rebuild. If I'm honest, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I imagine the car to sort of, we tend to build in our Cortinas these days, you expect to have to put floor pans in them, boot floors in them, pretty well everything bar inner wings. And I thought that this would probably be in a similar condition. Although it had been, in dry climates, I was very surprised that the basis of the car was extremely good.
When I bought the car, I knew that the main parts kind of came with it. So it had the original block, it had the heads to fit the block, it had gearbox, and it sort of had everything there that it needed. And it had a huge bunch of spares and bits and pieces that needed to go back onto the car. But I knew that it was only when it sort of got back here and Jordan Racing Team and Liam started working on it that we'd find out exactly what was missing. And it has been obviously a massive jigsaw puzzle. But what's been incredible is how helpful everyone's been in America. And there's some really great places where you literally just send them an email saying, I need this for 61 Chevrolet Impala, and they're like, no problem. And they send you an invoice and it gets sent over, and it's here within 10 days. So it's, from that perspective, it's been amazing. The challenge has and is for Liam is kind of piecing it all back together again. There's a sort of vague instruction booklet, but it doesn't tend to include sort of all the important bits. So the team here have done an absolutely amazing job so far, and it's kind of, it's just actually how I wanted it to look. It's got a bit of patina, some of the chrome's got dents and scrapes, but it's all sort of going back together again slowly.
When the Impala first turned up, I thought it was quite a cool project. Quite famous old race car to do something with. It looked a lot of work, and it was enormous. The biggest challenges working on the Impala are just the fact it's not a bare shell that we normally start with. Quite often we start with a complete donor car that we strip, so you learn where everything goes, how it's all fastened on, what order it was fastened in. This one, the fact that it's sort of half built and just a box full of old spares is probably the biggest challenge, working out what's missing, what's there.
Because it had been converted to right and drive previously and then back to left, there's things like on the gearbox, on the bell housing, that had been kind of cut and shut that we've had to rectify. Obviously getting the engine running, it's a different engine, so to get that all up and running, plumbed in, get new exhaust on it. Ed wants it really loud, so it's on straight through exhaust, we've had to get exhaust made. So there's been a lot of stuff that's been kind of trial and error. Hasn't been a case, you can't just go and buy necessarily bits to fit on that car. You have to look into it, research into it, and make bits as and when you need them.
We had to take a completely different view with this car, because what we tend to do is build historic cars but with a bit of a modern twist to them. So a lot of the cars that we're building for our customers, they are, we use sort of quite modern wiring looms and build them as out and out race cars to primarily go and win at Goodwood. Whereas with this one we had to just take a step back and look at what the car had done and the history, and it's such a famous car. And so I've gone completely the other way, and really I want to change as little as we possibly can, because I really don't think we should be doing it to this piece of history. You look underneath, you look at photographs from the day, you can see where he put some brake ducting on it. It's still there, it's still that car, and I think to change away from that, it's got drum front brakes on it, so if you were going to race it modern now in Goodwood or HRDC, you'd want to put disc brakes on it. I think it's sort of changing it away from that. So for something like this, my view is it has to stay as it was. It's a piece of history.
Initially Ed wanted it doing quite differently with a roll cage putting in it and stuff like that, and in terms of timescale we just said that wasn't going to happen, so we've put it back to kind of originally as it was found and as Dan raced it. So it's been a few months and it's it's tight on time. It is really, really tight on time. There's still a lot to do. Still got to get it fired up and up and running, and some road tests to make sure everything's okay. So the guys will be working a fair few hours on it, more than they'd probably like to at this time of the year, but that's the way it goes. And it's the same any time we come to Goodwood Revival, because we do testing with other cars we're racing, time always gets quite tight. So yeah, I think realistically the car have been in the workshop a few months from kind of start to finish. It's been off having its exhaust done and stuff like that, but the actual working time really is probably 2 months we'll have had on it really. I'm sure when it's here at the Revival looking great, as Dan Gurney raced it, then we'll be very proud of being involved with it.
So the project's been a kind of, I say it's been a series of peaks and troughs, really high peaks, quite big troughs. But it's funny how these things work out. You know, when Mike sort of told me that really there wasn't enough time to turn it into a racer, I was really gutted that I wasn't going to be racing at Revival. But actually, in hindsight, it was totally the right decision. And sort of, you know, completely stripping this back and turning it into something that, yes, it was a race car, but Dan raced it like this with bench seats and working radio. So that was kind of a really bit of a low point. But seeing it for the first time, because I parted with sort of, you know, a fair bit of money. Put it this way, if anyone needs any bills paid at the moment, I can't pay them. But then I didn't see it for 4 months. I bought this like imaginary car because I'd never seen it, never touched it. And then when it finally kind of rolled off the trailer and I saw it, I was like, mega, that's awesome. And every time I come and see it, because this is the second time I've actually seen the car. And every time I see it, obviously the team here and Liam's been doing so much work to it. It's kind of, every time you come, it's not a different car, but it's, you know, it's a whole nother kind of level and all the interiors in. And so it's really exciting, you know, getting up at sort of 5 o'clock this morning to get up here, it's not a problem. Alarm goes off, straight out of bed. But I can't wait to kind of finally hear it start up and just see it move, you know, that'd be really cool, and drive it, be awesome.